Hello aspirants, welcome to Grace IAS. So we are taking another chapter on UPSC guidance series, that is GS paper 4. So this is the last paper of general studies, GS paper 4. Before that we have already completed the strategy on GS paper 1, 2 and 3 which are available on Grace IAS YouTube channel. You can go and visit. So today we will be discussing GS paper 4. So GS paper 4, ethics, integrity and aptitude. This paper is bit different from other general studies paper. First of all, it was introduced in 2013. What we have studied in earlier paper of GS paper 1, 2 and 3, those subjects were also present before when in 2013. In 2013, UPSC came up with an updated syllabus on mains. So what we have studied in GS paper 1, 2 and 3 which were there earlier also in GS paper 1 and 2. Those ingredients were there which were there in GS paper 1 and 2. What is now divided in GS paper 1, 2 and 3. Of course they have little bit enlarged, like world history earlier it was not there, now they have also included world history in paper 1. Otherwise most of the things are similar. GS paper 4 was absolutely a new thing which was introduced in 2013, right? So what is the objective of GS paper 4? What is the objective? Why GS paper 4 was included? So basically UPSC wants the future civil servants, it wanted to shape the UPSC future civil servant to develop certain kind of sensibility in them, to have certain kind of ethical concerns, because they are going to join public service, right? They are going to become public administrators, so they must have certain kind of insensibility towards the ethical concerns of the society, right? So that's the reason it was being included. So let's look into what is there in the syllabus. So in today's session, we'll be doing what is there in the syllabus. We'll try to decode it. We'll try to simplify it. We'll also try to know the meaning of all these terms. And then we'll also see what are the sources of study from where you can study. And then we'll look into few questions of UPSC so that you will get an idea that what type of questions are being asked. Okay. So let's start. GS paper 4. That deals with ethics, integrity, and aptitude. So what do you mean by the term? So I have earlier also emphasized that knowing the meaning of the term is very, very important. You should try to know the meaning of the term so that it will be easy for you to start a question. If somebody asks you what is ethics or what is integrity, you have something ready with you, right? You have already something ready with you. So it will be easy. Try to understand the meaning of each terms mentioned in the syllabus. So ethics, what is ethics? Ethics is set of moral principles, right? Set of moral principles which guides the behavior. What is integrity? It is quality of being honest, quality of being honest, being consistent in your action, being consistent in one's action. What is aptitude? What is aptitude? It is the natural ability to acquire skill. So it is the natural ability, innate potential. You have the potential to learn that or acquire that skill. Like somebody, they are very good at singing. Not everybody can become good singer, right? Not everybody can become good dancers. So they have certain kind of natural, or you can say innate potential to acquire that particular skill. So for civil services, those who are joining the civil services or wants to join civil service, do they have an aptitude towards serving the society? Isn't it? Because you are going to join as a civil servants. So do you have that service motive inside you? Do you have that kind of ability, or you have the kind of aptitude of service towards the nation or towards the society? So that is what the GS paper 4 wants to assess in a candidate, right? Ethics, integrity, aptitude. I hope you got some idea about these terms. So let's look into the syllabus. I've just explained what is ethics. So we have divided the syllabus into 8 parts and we'll look into one by one. The first part, ethics and human interface. Ethics and human interface, in this essence means importance. What are the determinants and consequences of ethics in human actions? What are the various dimensions of ethics? Ethics in private, public relations. What are the dimension of ethics? Honesty, integrity, ability to judge what is right, what is wrong, isn't it? Human values, lessons from the lives and teachings of great thinkers like and reformers like Gautam Buddha, Swami Vivekanand, Mahatma Gandhi, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, all the social reformers you can go through. And the very good part of ethics paper is that you don't have to actually so much study, but you have to more analyze. You have already studied those things. You would have studied regarding the lessons from the lives and teachings of the great leaders in history or philosophy, right? So already you have some idea, and few more reformers and thinkers of the world you can study little bit to develop an idea or philosophy. Then what is the role of family, society? Role of family, society and educational institutions in inculcating the values and ethics in one's persons, isn't it? So ethics is something which is developed early in the childhood, right? Whatever you developed early in the childhood, that remains throughout your life, isn't it? So that is what is the role of family, society and educational institutions in developing ethics and values. So those things you will be covering under these topics. Second part is attitude. What is attitude? What is attitude? So attitude is a kind of predisposition to feel, believe or act in a certain way. So it is the kind of a predisposition, the kind of attitude you have. You will be predisposed to behave in a certain manner, feel, behave or act in a certain manner. So for example, if you have a positive attitude towards certain things, you will be behaving in a positive manner towards those things, right? And if you have a negative attitudes to a certain thing, certain community or certain ideas, you will behave in a negative manner, right? So there is a close linkages. We have seen there is a close linkages between attitude and behavior. So that's what you will be studying under this topic. So what is attitude, content, structure and functions? These are part of the psychological aspect which you will be studying under attitude. It influence and relations with thought and behavior. How attitude influence your thought and behavior. Moral and political attitude. How can we develop, the good attitudes or positive attitudes? Then social influence and persuasion. How social influence and persuasion shapes your attitude, right? So those things you will be studying under this topic, attitude. Aptitude. So aptitude is about, aptitude is a natural ability to learn certain thing, right? So in aptitude you will be studying aptitude and foundational values for civil services. Do you have the attitudes towards civil services, right? That is what this paper is trying to assess. Aptitude, foundational value of civil services. So what aptitude you require to become a civil servant? You should have integrity, impartiality, non-partition, objectivity, dedication to public service, empathy, tolerance, compassion, right? So these are the things which has been mentioned, that these kind of aptitude you should have for civil services. So that's what you need to assess, that whether you have these aptitude. If you don't, you need to develop that. Emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence? What is emotional intelligence? So we have seen, in the various studies has come up with shows that the people with high emotional intelligence or high emotional quotient, they have been performing much better in their life than those having high IQ. So IQ is about your how intelligent you are. So intelligence, there are various types of intelligence, but earlier the intelligence were, traditionally the intelligence were measured in terms of IQ. But lately it was found that people with very high IQ, not necessarily very successful in their life, or not necessarily did very well in their life. It was found that people with high emotional intelligence or high emotional quotient, in fact, they were more successful and they did much better in their life. So as a civil servant, you should have very high EQ. That's very important to be a good civil servant. So that's what you will be studying under, what is emotional intelligence, the concept of emotional intelligence, what it consists of, their utilities and application in administrations. So EQ or EI is all about how, whether you have the ability to regulate or control your emotions or manage your emotion. More better way to explain is, do you have the ability to manage your emotions, and not only your emotions but manage the emotions of people around you? Then you are a person of high emotional intelligence, and that will come, how emotional intelligence will come? Through self-awareness. Are you a person who know about yourself well? Self-awareness, self-regulations, empathy, motivation, social skill, right? Social skill is extremely important for a civil servant. So that is what a person with high emotional intelligence, they will be a better civil servant, because you will be able to solve the problems of society in a much better manner, right? So as a civil servant, mostly you have to solve the problems of society, isn't it? Moral thinkers. So moral thinkers, you should have idea about some of the moral thinkers of India and world. So like Swami Vivekanand, Gautam Buddha, Mahatma Gandhi, Sardar Patel. So not only the moral and philosophical thinkers. So there, see, one is the moral thinkers and one is the philosophical thinkers. So both moral and philosophical thinkers. So major leaders of our national struggle movement, social reform movements, that's what you can study. And of the world, you can study few like of Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, his idea, Immanuel Kant, right? Then ethics in public administration. So what all ethics do you should have as in public administrators? So civil services values, ethics in public administrations, ethical concerns and dilemma. So as an administrator, as an administrator, you are going to solve lot of problems in the society. So you may come up with certain kind of problems, confusion. The situation may be such where it will be a dilemma kind of situation, that how should I solve that problems. So such kind of issues you will be studying under this topic. So how to solve the ethical dilemmas, what are the ethical concerns in both government and private institutions. Then what are the source of ethical guidelines? There are certain source, certain guidelines that how your behavior should be. So for that, what you need to refer? Laws, rules, regulations, and also your inner conscience, isn't it? Your inner voice, that will also help you in kind of finding solution to the ethical problems. So laws, rules, regulations, conscience, inner voice, these are the source of ethical guidelines. If you are faced in certain kind of ethical dilemmas or concern, you can solve by using all these kind of things. These are the source of your ethical guidelines. Then accountability, ethical governance, strengthening of ethical moral values in governance, ethical issues in international relations and funding, corporate governance. So corporate governance also they have included, because you see these big corporate companies, even they have a huge impact, because their impact on the nation's economy, on society, and there has a huge impact on number of lives of the people, isn't it? So corporate governance, not only the government but also the private sector, there should be some ethical concerns, some kind of ethics should be followed, because we have seen a lot of corporate frauds happening, and it has a deeper impact on the society, because the number of life it impacts is very huge. So that's the reason that you should have some idea about the corporate governance. For that, we'll see what is the source where you have to study. Probity in governance. Now what is probity? What is probity? What is probity? So where you have a quality of being honest, transparent. You are very open kind of person. If somebody wants to investigate your conduct, you are very open. Okay, come, whatever I have done, you have the free to do the investigation, isn't it? Transparent, accountable, quality of being accountable, quality of being honest, quality of being transparent, openness, objective. That is what is probity in governance. So under this topic, you will be studying about the concept of public services, philosophical basis of governance and probity, like information sharing, right to information, code of ethics, code of conduct, citizens charter, work culture, quality of service delivery, utilizations of public fund, challenges of corruptions. All these things you will be studying under the probity in governance. So somebody, you know, who is an honest, transparent persons who have a sense of responsibility, accountability, sense of justice. So these are the things which is required probity in governance, right? Then whatever the topic we have discussed, the 7 topics, on that basis the case studies will come to solve, right? All the 7 topics we studied, on that basis the UPSC will give you certain case studies and you need to solve it. Now let's look into the what are the sources of studies. See, for ethics, you don't have to study so much, but you have to solve more questions. That is very important. So that's why GS paper 4 is quite different from other 3 paper of general studies, where you have to study a lot, you have to acquire a lot of knowledge, informations. Here whatever the knowledge you acquired in GS paper 1, 2 and 3, that can be utilized for GS paper 4. So here more of analysis. You have to think, you have to, kind of solve more number of questions. You see more number of questions and try to analyze. That is how GS paper 4. So you don't have to more study, but you have to more solve the question, you have to more analyze the questions, right? So this is what the very less sources any of the book, we have just mentioned. Any one, there is Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude by G. Suva Rao, and Lexicon, Ethics, Integrity, Aptitude by Neeraj Kumar. Any one of them you can study to have certain idea about that. You will be aware about the various terms what we have mentioned in the syllabus. You will get some idea about that, right? Apart from that, second ARC report, particularly ethics in governance. Ethics in governance. Second ARC report, ethics in governance. This particular report you should study. That will be really very helpful for you, not only an ethics paper but also governance chapter, governance section of GS paper 2, right? So this you study. Apart from that, you can go for corporate governance. You can go through the guidelines from the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. This website you can go through and just look into the guidelines for corporate affairs, right? So I think this is more than enough. One is any one you can go through. No need to go both. Any one you go through just to develop certain ideas about the syllabus. And then second ARC report, as this is useful for your ethics GS paper 4 as well as for your GS paper 2 governance section. And this corporate governance, Ministry of Corporate Governance website you can go through to look into the guidelines for corporate governance, right? Apart from that, anyway, you will be updating from the newspaper anyway, updation if any good topics come, and anything you are studying in the newspaper, try to relate how I can utilize in my ethics. If any good, because they had asked on international funding, international relations also. So what is the ethical point of view? That you should study, isn't it? So there are different ways to study the same topic, from the political perspective, from the economic perspective. So you should also study a topic from the ethical perspective. Like for example, Palestine and Israel war is happening. So what is the ethical concern? So you must have been studying from the political angle, you must have been studying from the economic angle. So you also try to relate with what are the ethical issues in that war, right? So that is how you can look into the current affairs. So some mains question I have just put it. I am not going to make it a very long discussions. I want to show you that what are the type of questions coming. So some 2-3 questions I have selected. This is from 2024. It is not enough to talk about peace, one must believe in it, and it is not enough to believe in it, one must act upon it. So what is that? It is not enough to talk about peace. So we keep on talking about the peace, but are we acting also? So not only talking, not only believing in peace, but also we must act upon it, right? Because action is more louder than words, isn't it? That's what it emphasizes. Not only we should talk about, but also we must act. That is what the concrete steps we are taking, right? Then in this present context, the major weapon industries of the developed nations are adversely influencing continuation of number of wars for their own self-interest all around the world. What are the ethical considerations for the powerful nations in today's international arena? See the questions, please take care of the keywords. That is what you have to take care of about this in the questions of UPSC. Powerful nation, right? So it is said that might is right. Is it correct? Should those who are mighty, those who are powerful should behave in an arbitrary manner, or should behave the way they like it. That is what is happening, isn't it? The Ukraine-Russia war, what you learn from the Ukraine-Russia war, then what you learn from Gaza, the misadventure or war. So what are the ethical consideration for the powerful nation? How powerful nation should behave, how they should set the example of ethics. So that's what I was telling you, that whenever you read the newspaper or any current affairs, for anything about current affairs, try to link also from the ethical perspective. That is what just I was discussing. So I just wanted to show you the questions, that the questions which you feel that it might come in polity or economy, but that kind of questions can come also in ethics. Of course, it will have an ethical angle, right? So develop a viewpoint on this. The next question you see from the moral thinkers, moral and philosophical thinkers. In a law, the man is guilty. In a law, man is guilty when he violates the rights of other. In ethics, he is guilty if he only thinks of doing the thing. Right? So what is the difference here? In law, you will be prosecuted only if you violate the law, isn't it? You violate the law. If you just think of violating the law, nobody is going to prosecute you, right? Nobody is going to kind of acquit you, kind of convict you or arrest you. But in ethics, ethics is something beyond it. So law is something about the physical manifestation, that you have done certain act of crime, then you will be prosecuted. But in ethics, if you think about something wrong, doing something wrong, that is also unethical. We should prevent such kind of unethical thought coming into our mind, because whatever you think, if you think too much, it might lead to action. If you think about the same thing, about the crime again and again, you might end up doing that crime, isn't it? So that is what, if any wrong thing comes in our mind, we should try to stop it then and there. We should kill it then and there before it takes physical manifestation, right? So on that line, you have to write this answer. I hope you got some clarity about that, how to approach the question. Now this is the case study. So just look at this case studies. You are working as an executive in a nationalized bank for several years. One day, one of your close colleague tells you that her father is suffering from heart disease and needs surgery immediately. She also tells you that she has no insurance, no medical insurance, and operation will cost a very hefty amount of rupees 10 lakh. You are also aware of the fact that her husband is no more and that she is from lower middle class. You are empathetic about her situation. However, you are not in a position to help her. A few weeks later, you ask her about the well-being of her father, and she informs you that the surgery has been done. She confides in you, and then she confides in you that the bank manager was kind enough to facilitate the release of rupees 10 lakh from a dormant account. So bank manager was kind enough to facilitate rupees 10 lakh from the dormant account of someone to pay, with a promise that it should be confidential and be repaid the earliest. She has already started paying it back, and she will completely pay the amount. So she is paying in kind of installment. So now this is what you have studied the case. Now this kind of question will come. What are the ethical issues involved? Evaluate the behavior of the bank manager from an ethical point of view, whether it was ethical. How would you react to the situation? Because you are the executive of the nationalized bank. So will you bring such whatever the deeds were done, will you bring it to the notice of the authority? Will you take it, will you take this issue further, or you will also keep silent because you understood that there was a situation, there was a problematic situation, and the bank manager has helped her and she is also repaying that amount. So will you keep silent because anyway that amount is going to be paid off, right? She is paying already. So what will you, what steps you will be taking? So that is what is about the ethical issues, and how will you react to that situation. So I hope you got an idea that how the questions are coming, isn't it? So in I always try to bring the mains or prelims questions, because ultimately it is through the question you will actually get an idea. The syllabus gives you an idea that what to study, but when you look at the question you get a more concrete idea that yes, these are the types of question, accordingly I can mold my preparation, right? So I hope this session was useful to all of you and you got more clarity about GS paper 4. So with this, we are winding up the session. We have done the syllabus of GS paper 4, also what are the sources, and we have discussed few mains questions. We'll keep on coming on more such kind of sessions, demystifying UPSC and bringing more clarity to your preparation. Thank you. All the very best.